Welcome to ATI Pro Media. Tommy Grisafi. We are powered by Advanced Trading. Well, we have a report here at 11. We got a little extra premium show here, a little let's go live, see what happens. Maybe it's a big nothing burger. And if it is, we'll ring the bell, say thanks for watching, subscribe, like, and subscribe. But maybe it'll be a nothing burger. Right now, going into it, let's go to LaSalle Street. Then we'll go to Wall Street. Connor B will jump in. We'll break it down. And we'll see what the heck's going on here. We have some interesting things happening. Dees corn up a half. No beans up 6. I'll quote it up 4.19. Dees corn 10.20 in the no beans. Meal up 22. Soybean oil up 30. Board of Trade wheat, KC wheat, hard red spring. A little different than our live show at 9. Board of Trade wheat down 3. KC down 4. Hard red spring down 5. Live cattle, feeder cattle, a little lower today. Hogs just down a smidge. Let's take it to Wall Street, that great street that I was literally standing and watched them hit the opening bell just yesterday. I'll tell you a story about that in a second. But first, Dow Jones up 330. S&P's up 30. NASDAQ up 10. A lot of volatility over there. 2s, 5s, 10s, 30s, all up. That means interest rates are going down a little bit. Gold up 36. Silver up 50. Dr. Copper up 5. Crude oil down 50. Extremely volatile times here in crude oil. Natural gas down 50. And Bitcoin up 2,500. With that, we'll bring in the star of the show, Connor B. Boy, did that go fast. We were just going live like 5 minutes ago. I talked to a bunch of clients, and all of a sudden, we're getting ready to go live. I'm like, where's Connor? What's going on?
I did the same thing. I'm like, oh, crap, I got to jump on. It sneaks up on you quick. But
good to do our day jobs, too.
It is. October WASDE, right? I think all eyes are going to be, are we going to adjust that national yield, right? Is the old adage, big crops get bigger, going to ring true, right? But I really think I'm going to be most interested, Tommy. I want to see, we're not going to get it on the initial reaction, but I want to see, are they going to adjust China imports? Where are we going to be at with Brazil, corn, soybeans, Russia, Ukraine, right? I want to see outside the U.S., I think that's, if we're going to start building a bullish story, I think it's going to come from some of those numbers if we see it in this report.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to see the wheat turn back down because a lot of headlines out of Russia, problems with Ukraine, with the ports again. I thought wheat would have a little more premium built into it. We're 601 Board of Trade wheat, 607 KC, 645 hard red spring. Yeah. Is wheat done rallying, or is it going to add more premium? Interesting. All right. People have been asking, and I'll just flat out say, I think the bean crop could be a tiny bit smaller. I think this corn crop's a whopper. And you could blame the great folks on the fringe states. I know there's someone watching from Minnesota says it's not there. I know we have clients and listeners who watch ATA Pro Media from Ohio who are disappointed. We have our good friend Luke from North Carolina that half that stuff is in a wash down the road and in a different state now.
Right.
But where they grow corn, in your backyard, Iowa, monster. Oh, Iowa, you should be embarrassed of yourself. You're so awesome. Ring the bell for Iowa. They are kicking butt and taking names. They can't even lie about it.
If we just look at the weather, right? We go back to this corn crop. We had fantastic June, July. We had great weather. The finish, right, which is much more important to the soybean crop, I wouldn't call it spectacular, Tommy, right? The weather in August into September, we've been on the drier side. We continue to be on the drier side, right? Not a chance of rain in the forecast here in central Illinois. And so, I think that's the story is this soybean yield as good as they say? Could we see it be trimmed back just a little bit? Time will tell.
Mm-hmm. Hey, big shout out, Trace. Thanks for retweeting that. A good friend, a young lady I used to work with on the floor of the Board of Trade, just retweeted it. And she's got a little bit of a following on the old X. You might see our numbers jump up. Thanks, Trace. Means a lot. Hey, speaking of following, I had the chance to go to New York, and it's been a long time since I've been there. And it's just wild. It's America. It's so fun to walk down the street and hear a bunch of people talking different languages. People of different, all different mixes. It's a melting pot. And my family, I have grandparents who came into Ellis Island, but to visit a nephew who's going to school in Columbia, to go down to the walls to New York Stock Exchange and go to Wall Street, to attend a seminar. I'll tell you a funny story. I went out to dinner by myself with all my friends last night, and there was a guy wearing a shirt, and he had a Shure microphone. And for those of you who don't know, we're not using Shure, but many of you do. When you watch podcasters, they're always using a Shure microphone. Joe Rogan, our friend Joe Vaklovic, uses Shure microphones. And I said, hey, I like those mics. And the guy sitting across them was from Microsoft. And we got in this conversation about microphones at this little steak place in on the Upper West Side. And he wasn't even at the convention. There was a sound convention, there was a media convention, but just good people. The one thing about New York that I was surprised about, when I used to go there 20 years ago, I always felt like people were rude. And I didn't have that feeling. I felt like people were friendly and nice. I took time and went over to the World Trade Center. That was very emotional for someone who knew people involved in that, and very emotional to see that hole in the ground. There's two towers, and one of the waterfalls in one tower wasn't working, so there's a lot of people. But very humbling to be in a great city like that. I left New York bullish on America. I left New York bullish on.
I like that.
But in Times Square, they had the they have the live polling of President Trump versus Vice President Harris. And when it said 52% Trump, 48% Harris, the crowd roared. And it was interesting that maybe things are changing there. Obviously, last night, if you're watching politics, maybe you're watching the all those beautiful colors in the sky. But to take off and see the whole sky red in New York, and to see all the farmers posting pictures of that beautiful solar thing we had after all the horrible weather in Florida, felt like America was okay. Now let's see if Ag America is okay after 11 o'clock.
And speaking of which, hey, if you're tuning in for the first time, drop us a comment, right? We want to hear how do you feel about yields in your area, right? Tommy and I are kind of thinking we're hearing some big corn yields. I think everything I've heard confirms the USDA number that we have a record crop. If you disagree, let us know, right? Let us know how you're feeling, especially we had a big jump in soybean harvest last week. I think we're going to see something similar when they come out with those numbers. So let us know how soybean harvest is going. Let us know cash markets in your area. How is basis holding up, right? We talked a lot about how west side of Illinois, we really saw some weak basis numbers on soybean basis. Continue to not be great, right? We want to hear where it is. And so we'll see, right? We're about, what are we, Tommy?
Hey,
5-6 minutes out? Hit me.
Yeah. With Tracy retweeting that, a lot of financial people just joined this. Explain what the basis is, because you're talking over people.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Basis is just going to be, right, we've got the Chicago Board of Trade price, which is what we're going to be watching and what's going to fluctuate right now. That basis is going to be how they adjust it at your local market, right? So if Chicago Board of Trade is paying $4.19 for December corn, right, the basis is going to be what the processor, your elevator, river terminal is going to adjust it, right? Think of it as their profit margin. It could be negative, it could be positive. And so when we start talking about, the middle of harvest on a record crop, when we start seeing those bushels move, typically we see that basis weaken. Now, when we're talking commodity markets, nothing is typical, right? There's a ton of moving things, but that's the story I think this week is this bean basis. We've seen a lot of bean bushels move. Bean bases came in very weaker, right? There's a lot of incentive to store soybeans if you have the ability to store them. If they got to move, they got to move, right? We just got to take it. But so we got quotes up here, Tommy. Yep.
Yeah, I do. Real quick, we got a bunch of fine Americans who just showed up. Thanks for everyone joining. Real quick, this was yesterday. I got to tell you, I've been watching Jim Cramer since I was a little kid, and I'm not a little kid anymore. David Faber, Carl Cantanilla, all wonderful. I could have tackled them all. You'd think you go to the New York Stock Exchange and you see all these people filming. They're not going to let you near them. I was literally, Jim said, excuse me, when he walked by so he can get in his booth. I mean, this is, awesome. It was really neat. And the broker who gave me a tour of the floor, he has a very, very successful business on the floor. Unlike our floors, that floor is not dead. It's just changed. It's changed tremendously. And we'll talk about that on ATI Pro Media Premium. He's going to come on the show and do a breakout of what's it like to be an actual floor broker on the New York Stock Exchange. For the people who are just joining, who've never heard about ATI Pro Media, $30 a month, $1 a day. I'll tell you about it right here. Welcome to ATI Pro Media, powered by Advanced Trading. We're a financial channel that loves agriculture. For just $1 a day, you'll receive advanced trading research, actionable text, and a minimum of 6 videos a week featuring industry experts and insight. Click the button below to subscribe today. All right, we are Advanced Trading, and I need to get that picture off. There we go. Tommy Grisafi, Advanced Trading, Valparaiso, Indiana, Connor B, Assumption, Illinois, Advanced Trading YouTube channel. We are the ATI Pro Media Group. We really appreciate if you like and subscribe. You want to see more stuff like this, get notifications. We have our free segment, which we do every day at 9. Then we have our premium, which we bring out actionable text, a great morning email that hits around 5:30, 5:45. Big thanks to Scott Mignani, who gets up early and pumps that out every day. And then we do our premium videos. Like, tell real quick before we get in this number, tell everyone about yesterday's premium video. We have a minute or two.
Yeah, so yesterday's premium video, we had our head of research, Dr. Cesar Cruz, along with the producer from Brazil, Giovanni, and we just talked about what his outlook on. We really focused because I think we want to know how is soybean planting going, or lack thereof, right? Is really the story. How are what's precipitation look like in your area? How are you going to ramp up? And just really hear his perspective. Great insight, right? We know the story. We can look what Conab puts out on planting progress, but it's good to hear from him, right? He's not a small producer. I can't remember where he is, but when you start throwing out 50 to 90,000 hectares, right, do that conversion to acres, and they're not small potatoes. So it was good to hear, and then good to hear about how when we start talking soybean crop, how that influences, right, any late planting, it's going to influence their next crop too. We start talking about cotton, that second corn crop. So great stuff. It was a good video. I love hearing from both those guys.
That was fascinating the last time you did that. And we get little tidbits. We're going to have the land talker on next week, talk about farmland prices. We're going to have Don Wick on, talk about why the heck do we not have a farm bill? That's a real problem. All right, if you're a great patriot and you love America, see if I can get that ticker going right there. If you love America and I'm going to give away a couple flags here.
I like it.
Email me, info@ATI Pro Media. Info@ATI Pro Media. We're going to get you American flag. We're about 50 seconds out till this report comes out. Can you break down the numbers for me, my friend?
Yeah, and if you've never watched us do this before, we're going to start yelling out the numbers. We like looking at the price action first. But first one we're going to look at, let's look at crop production. Average estimates on corn, 15.1. Soybeans at that 4.58. The yield number, right, that's going to be the headline grabber. We've got the September USDA at 183.6, record. Soybeans 53.2, record. October estimates generally think we're going to be that in line, maybe trimming soybeans a little bit. And so with that, Tommy, you see the numbers.
It's about go time, buddy. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news.
All right.
15 seconds and out. Let's try not to talk over each other. Let's watch the price action. I'll politely read the numbers as I see them. May take a few seconds. And for all those you out there watching, over 1,500 of you watching, thank you so much. It means a lot to us. All right, let's watch price action right here.
Let's see where it goes right now.
Survey says we got a little friendly corn to start, up 3.
Little friendly is the right way to say it. It's not explosive. Soybeans chopping around, wheat doing wheat things, not doing a whole lot. But
did we go live on a nothing burger? Let's see what the numbers are.
You got to remember, Tommy, when we're talking the USDA, the June report,
baby. I got numbers. Let's go. USDA corn 1.999 billion, expected 1,960. That's a tiny bit bigger here, if I'm seeing that right. I got yield in corn 183.8, expected 183.4. That's what we thought. We thought that yield might go up a little bit.
That old adage rings true. Keep going, Tommy.
We got corn on the low. Okay. I don't know. So much to read. What would you like to see next? Beans?
Yeah, if we throw.
All right, I'm looking through my bifocals. Let me see here. Soybean production 4.582, 4.582. Looking for that soybean yield here. Should be out in just a second.
So
what are you seeing in price action? Looks like the algos grabbed it. The algos saw something they thought was friendly in corn, and that was not correct. That's why we have those scale up offers in there. If you're a farmer and you're producing grain, you need to get that stuff sold. Sometimes you get these algos to do one of those weird flips here. I got USDA soybean yields 53.1, expected 53.1. That'll go down as a nothing burger. That's why you see soybeans going from up
very,
5
very
to
little
only
bit.
up 1.
Tommy, could you give me corn production again? What was that number?
I thought it was I got carry out 1.99. Oh, you want corn production?
Yeah, just overall production.
15.203, 15.203 billion bushels, expected 15.160. So that's a little bearish too. I'm starting to think this corn number is slightly bearish. We're going with a big nothing burger. If you went to the washroom at 10:55 and you came back at 11:05, you didn't know we had a number today.
Here's my prediction. We're going to start. You're going to see newsletters come out, and they're going to use the term "big crops get bigger" because we saw it ring true. They got that yield. It ticked ever so slightly higher. Tommy, if you're at 183.8, right there at 183.6, and we're seeing production on corn and soybeans both tick a little bit higher. Not in the realm of no fireworks, but we're seeing it get a little bit bigger.
I got a little something here. Interesting. I just caught it. There's so many things coming out. Folks, you got to realize when the USDA drops this thing, it's 40, 50 pages. I'm reading it on a different service. Ukraine corn crop, a tiny bit smaller. I got cotton production, 14.2 versus 14.5. Could be a little bullish cotton. Ever so slight, though. I mean, we're talking that when the USDA started telling us a few months ago, this was a big crop. And then all the farmers and all the analysts are like, they're wrong, they're wrong, they're wrong. They're wrong because they're trying to sell newsletters. It's really hard to sell newsletters if corn's dropping 5-10 cents a day and the farmer's got nothing sold. So you got to build up this bullish story. Then you go take out a national ad saying that your service is 20% off. The reason your service is 20% off is because you've been 100% wrong for a year and you never got people sold. So people who sell news wires, and you're talking to someone who has a service that's $30 a month, but we're doing it because we're bringing premium content, not making these outrageous predictions that when you tell the American farmer that the yield's not there, you're telling them that they didn't use high quality seed. You're telling them that they haven't added different types of drain tile. You're telling them they didn't use great fertilizer. You're telling them they didn't spray the crops. You're telling them they're getting worse at farming. With all the genetics, the fact that every John Deere tractor has little AI chips on them, or little chips made from NVIDIA that have AI, our yields are going to go up. You want to talk about that a little bit, Connor B?
Yeah, absolutely. Here, how about first, I'm going to give a quick rundown on USDA numbers because I said big crops get bigger. It's always only on corn, right? We saw soybeans slightly reduced. So production on soybeans was at a 4.582. Prior was 4.586. Not a big change, slightly reduced. Yield on soybeans, 53.2 in September. They're now at a 53.1. Ever so slight reduction. You could almost say they didn't change it at all.
1/10 of 1 bushel.
Yeah,
farmer's going to spill more than that today. That's fine.
And so corn, it did get bigger yield at that 183.8. We continue to make new records there. Previous record on corn was a 177.6, something like that, right? We're blowing that out of the water this year. That was last year we saw a record on corn yield. We're 6 bushel above the previous record, right? And then corn production at that 15.2, pretty decent jump, right? I say significant. In the terms of this report, it's significant. In the grand scheme of things, slightly higher than where they were for September.
Well, it's interesting how the day develops. Speaking of day developing, you're at segment 2 of Advanced Trading's content here. We had the live at 9 show. We went live at 10:45. You got to watch the number live. One thing I'll tell us is you had all the advantages we had, us traders, us brokers, us owners of seats and exchange. We don't have as many advantages with the high-speed internet and everything else. Everything we have, you can have also. Now, the boys down in corporate, down in Bloomington, Michael Reginelli, Brian Bassey, I believe Nate Duraco, they're going to break it down at 1:30, and they're going to kick butt, takes names. Sometimes they'll really, really, really deep dive into what these numbers are, and that should be good. All right, questions, comments, peanut gallery. We've got over 1,600 people watching. I think that's a new record. Ring the bell.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks for watching. So,
yeah,
Tommy,
click like and subscribe. Yes, sir.
We are complete. I mean, we've been up, a little down. Corn soybean market. I mean, D's corn is up 0.75 cents. November soybeans up 2. Talk about it's going to be a very quiet report.
Second, I get off this report, I'm going to send a text. A lot of our clients are watching saying, hey, are you selling beans off the combine? You're using those beans, you're selling them off the combine, you're paying down that operating note. Big note, 10-year yield today hit like 4.12, 4.14. 10-year yield, our yields are at like 3-4 month highs. We haven't been this high since July, yet the Fed cut a half. Everyone's yelling they're going to cut another half, another half. I can give you a scenario where the Fed should actually raise interest rates just to calm things. We had CPI yesterday, PPI today. We had Michigan sentiment today, came out a little weaker. But overall, I'm telling you, after leaving Chicago, going to New York, coming back and seeing the economy, it's on fire. And yes, the rich are really rich and the middle class are doing okay. And the poor are struggling, right? With these big high rises in New York, there's the people sleeping on the streets and everything else. So there's a whole new factors to figure when it comes to the economics of America, Connor.
Yeah. And so looking at, in the farm gate, looking at this, we have the numbers. So now we're going to move forward. Now the trade's going to start watching, right? The big headline has been, how is planting progress going on this soybean crop in South America? The next 5, 10, 15 days, right? It's huge. This is where they make the most progress, right? October is where they plant 85% of their soybean crop. So that's going to be where the trade's paying attention, where I think you should be paying attention to, watching that, right? Especially if we're harvesting our soybeans. If you don't have a plan, right? If we don't have them marketed, now's the time to start getting that plan in place, seeing if we get them hedged. As Tommy mentioned, interest rates are going to be a big factor in that store versus sell decision.
Yeah, you want to talk cattle real quick? They've been on a heck of a run. I want to give our
quote us up.
Yeah, cattle are down 20, feeders are down 40, but they have been on a heck of a ride. Now we have a group of people at Advanced Trading sell LRP. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, LRP, livestock risk protection. Spoke over that, but we got Brady Huck, Tony Dunker, and then Kayla Walker has it too. So we have 3 people. It's a great tool. Brady put out a really good premium about how him being able to sell LRP and then also being a broker, right? We can then get the LRP protection on, right? Get that insurance, get the price hedged, and then we can then talk about how are we going to enhance that and then work on the volatility if this cattle market moves.
I almost bought LRP. He was so convincing, but I don't even have any cattle. But maybe we'll go buy a few. Hey, markets are moving a little bit. Dees corn unch down a quarter. No beans down slightly, down a quarter. The wheat down 6, 8 in KC, 10 in spring wheat. Seeing some selling there. Seeing stock market absolutely on fire. Gold on fire.
The wheat is probably the most interesting to me, Tommy, because when we look at wheat production, wheat stocks, right, we were down on both of those versus the September report. Per wheat production 1.971 before we were at a 1.982. Not a big reduction, but that's really been the story in this wheat market, is looking at Russia, Ukraine. Did you say, if you could look at your numbers again, I don't have them in front of me. What did we see Ukraine wheat come in at?
You know what? There's so many numbers here. I go full screen on Connor, guys, so I could look down here. Say something smart, Connor. You got 1,700 people watching you.
Here we go. So I think that's what's going to be fun. I'd encourage you to tune in to the guys doing more of a breakdown, because I think those are the numbers I really want to see. The headlines are going to be corn yield got a little bit bigger, soybean ever so slightly smaller, but where are they at with Russian wheat? I'd love to see.
I got an 82 versus 83, and that's in line with what they were saying.
I got another curveball for you, Tommy.
Oh, come on now, please. I went to bed at 2 a.m. last night, and you're throwing them at me at 100 miles an hour. What do you got?
Let's look at some China numbers, right? Do you have
China? It's right
China
in front of me. China wheat 140 versus 140. Brazilian wheat. I'm not seeing anything crazy here. EU wheat output.
Yeah, and
Canadian.
If there was something crazy, the market would be more excited. We got it trending down lower as we're talking.
Yeah, I think I understand a little something in wheat, that a lot of people thought that wheat was going to really be bullish. Hey, it's going to be a bullish story in Russia. Australia's got a problem. This one's got a problem. All these numbers say, yeah, it's okay. Not that the world's not ending here. Right. Not ending at all.
Yeah, that's the thing about predicting these USDA reports. You got to be able to predict the numbers, and you got to predict how the trade's going to react to those numbers, right? If we've got if they don't have a surprise and we've got the wheat numbers already baked in, right? And then they confirm that. Well, then price action takes over, and we've got wheat down 8 cents right now.
Yeah, let's talk about money flow a little bit. Every Friday after the close, we're going to get commitment of traders. I know that's something you like to watch. I like to watch it. Get a little upset because the data's a little spoiled, little old. It's not spoiled. It's just old, right? Hey,
Mhm.
what's in the fridge? Yeah, that's from 4 days ago. But if you want to eat it, go ahead. And that's what you get with Friday commitment of traders. But the funds have been covering. Talk about that a little bit, Connor B.
Yeah, the whole story. If we could do a rewind into 2024, right? The story has been how short the funds are, right? Record short position. We saw them put it on corn and soybeans this summer. Then we've seen them slowly cover those short positions, right? We've had really a nice run up in soybeans and corn both, but from about, I think, middle of July, correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy, and we saw the funds slowly decrease that short position. We didn't feel it because we saw the farmer really sell into it too. So maybe the price action didn't reflect and we didn't see that big short covering rally that maybe some were hoping for, but the funds have greatly decreased their short position. And I think commitment of traders is going to show us that here this afternoon, Tommy.
Yeah, you want to hear the bad news as a commodity broker
Hit me.
or a farmer? When the funds are really, really long, they're giving the farmer the funds speculate, they come in with money, they buy it, that gives a farmer a chance to sell it at really profitable levels. Now we went the whole other spectrum where the funds went from long to almost or real close to maybe a new record short when you add up all the grains they were short, when you add up corn, beans, wheat, canola, all that stuff. Now they go to neutral. Not good as a commodity broker, because what's the one thing, whether it goes up or down, that we love?
Price action, volatility.
Volatility. And when we're asking people to buy options, if we ask them to buy options and volatility flatlines, well, then you could have a problem. So that's where cash sales come into it, Connor. I mean, this whole buy a put thing, it's not going to work so well if you just don't get the cash sold. Now, but wait, there's more. We have carry in the market. Tell our good folks what carry is. I know we have a bunch of financial people watching today. Explain to good folks out there in X land what carry is.
Well, listen, if you started farming right around 2020 and then till about even into 2023, carry wasn't even on your mind because there was none. The market was inverted, right? Meaning if we were inverted right now, December corn
I'm going
would
to
be
pull
worth
something up
more.
for you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up. Remember that carry thing I have on my software?
Yeah, pull it
Go
up.
ahead and keep talking. I'm going to pretty it up a little bit, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's the market telling us it wants the grain now. It does not want you to store it. We are no longer in that environment. We've outgrown that. Now there's enough corn in the world. We have a good carry in the market. Now it's rewarding you. If you put grain in the bin, it's going to be worth a little bit more. Managing those spreads, this is merchandising 101. If we're putting the grain in the bin, we need to make sure it's sold. And then also, where's the best place to place that hedge? Is it March, May? Do we go all the way out to July? It's conversations you and I have every day, right? I always like to say
Absolutely.
managing the price, getting floors in place. That's step one. Step two is going to be make sure we're merchandising this correctly. Even if you don't have bin storage, right? I talk a lot about merchandising bin space. Well, we're still merchandising it. If we know the grain's got to move this fall, it just looks a little bit different. So it's going to be a big factor. And when we're in a low price environment, making sure we can capture as many pennies as we can, right? We need to be doing it. And so that's going to be a big topic. And I think a big topic going forward into 2025, Tommy.
Mm-hmm. Let's give people the bad news. If you're out there, if you're a Wall Streeter, if you're a farmer, the bad news is corn is $4.50 for multiple years. You say, how do you know that? Are you speculating? You're going to get in trouble. You're speculating on a live stream. Oh, no. There are millions of Chicago Board of Trade / CME Group futures at trade. Let's break it down. D's 25 trading around, well, I'll get the real quotes here. D's 25 is trading. Well, it's moving fast. D's 25 is up a penny, 452. But then we go down that curve and you say, I think corn's going up. I'm going to store it till D's 26. And oh boy, lions and tigers, that is not free to store corn for a year. But congratulations, you'll get a few more cents, 460 for D's 26. So if you store your corn next year's crop for a whole nother year past that, that's what you get. Now here's where it gets scary. Go out to D's 27, 455 and a half. So if you're out there and you think corn is just massively undervalued, you could go buy the Board of Trade for multiple years and you wouldn't have time decay. Is that correct?
Yep.
But the market, which is, people say, oh, the market's wrong. Hey, if you think the market's wrong, place your bets, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of placing your bets, last weekend in college football, a lot of upsets. I mean,
Oh, here we go.
Vanderbilt beat Alabama.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, there was a ton. Those kids, they threw the goalposts in the what is that river? The
Bless their
Cumberland
hearts.
River.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
they took the goalpost. They
unbelievable.
marched them 3 miles through
Yeah.
Tennessee. All right, we went
Uh,
off the rails, but it's
yeah.
funny as heck.
I got another point. You're talking about
Yeah.
spreads carry. We can look at, just the board carry, but we need to make sure we're looking at our cash markets too, right? I talked about the west side of Illinois. We saw that bean basis tank to where if you could store soybeans, sell them for, I believe, March, you're looking at an 85-cent gain just because that fall price was so weak. And so a coworker was telling us that she was seeing beans going in bags, right? Which 2 months ago would have probably given a few guys a heart attack, right? That's a cardinal sin, putting beans in a bag, the risk of it going bad. But for 85 cents a bushel, we should be talking about it, Tommy.
Yeah, extremely interesting what's happening now. Going back to 5-10 minutes ago when we talked about commitment of traders, when SEP corn went down to lower 380s and the funds covered 50,000, that meant the American farmer was caught massively long holding multiple year crops because they had that spoiled feeling from what happened during the Ukraine war. Everything that happened during the Ukraine war, where we went into growing that crop at a relatively low cost production, and that crop exploded, the price of it, whether it be due to South American weather or weather problems somewhere else, then Russia invades Ukraine, which President Joe Biden came on 3-4 days before and said Russia's going to invade Ukraine. I didn't believe him. Could be one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my trading career. When a sitting president of the United States says so and so is going to do this, just letting you know, we could have bought wheat calls for a few pennies that were worth literally $1 a few days later. We aren't in that environment. But when you shoot up the price of commodities around the world, like canola and soybean oil and the physical soybean and the corn and all those things that they grow, you send a signal out to the rest of the world. Farming's easy. You got to get involved. It's a no-brainer. I mean, you're only going to make $200 an acre now. Now, when you look at your good folks there at University of Illinois, what are numbers looking like for farmers this year, Connor? And farmers going forward, before I finish, and I swear I'll let you talk, the price of fertilizer is going up, has went up, and with these storms going through Florida, looks like we could have a high cost of production in 2025. Show is yours.
Yeah. Absolutely right. The old adage, right? High prices cure high prices. It rang very true in 23 and into 24, right? We saw the price deteriorate very quickly. And now we're seeing input costs if we could go back in history, we see these corrections, the price drops, we see inputs drop too, albeit a little bit slower than where the price drops. We're not seeing those input costs come down, Tommy, right? And now we talked about it on our live show yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, about how this hurricane really could disrupt this the phosphate market, right? With something like 75% of phosphate is produced in Florida. Don't quote me on that one. But we're not seeing it, right? We saw from 21, 22 where we had low cost of production and high prices. 24 and 25, it looks like it very well could be the opposite. Time will tell. These markets move very quickly. And speaking of moving quickly, we've got it working lower. Soybeans now down 7, not on the low, but close to it.
Yeah, I got them up here. Let's quote it up. All right, let's start as we start to wind down the show. Number one, thank you for watching. This is Advanced Trading ATI Pro Media. If you're new, we go live every day at 9. Myself, Tom Grisafi, Brady Huck, Connor B. Sometimes we have some guests. Of course, there's producer Joe and Rick back there helping push the buttons, loading charts, and everything else. Interesting what happened. USDA report, we had a high-frequency trade pop in corn. Beans were going up on the thoughts that this crop could be a little smaller, a lot smaller. Not really. Wheat on the lows, corn down 2, beans down 6. Border Trade KC of Minneapolis all lower. Cattle lower. Outside markets, I don't want to say exploding higher. The Dow Jones up 2.5%, or I'm sorry, 0.5% isn't exactly exploding higher, but it is nice nonetheless.
Yeah. So not, no surprise. Just to recap the report, no surprises, right? We saw the corn crop get a little bit bigger, soybean crop ever so slightly smaller, but not to sound like a broken record, but now the trade's going to move forward into really digesting. It's going to, all eyes are going to be on the South America planting pace, right? If you're a U.S. farmer, I say this all the time, is we're not the number one player in soybeans, and we haven't been for quite some time, right? The biggest soybean crop is getting planted right now. They are seeing delays, but they're not necessarily behind, right? They plant majority of their crop in the next 20 days in the month of October. All eyes are going to be on if they get rains, if they get planted. I think that needs to be the focus now that we have this USDA report in the rearview mirror.
Connor B, we got to get in the comments here. We got an old friend who said something hilarious a few months ago.
Let's do
and
it.
He's back. Jojo or Rick, starting from the top, we'll go through the comments. Obviously, take a look at them. Make sure no one's too off the rails saying something, but let's bring them in.
No one's too off the rails. We got Tommy Grisafi's going live, and he's talking
Behaving.
about going off the rails. Yeah, for now. All right, Luke, will USDA include the damage from Helene to this cotton crop in this report? I don't think so, Luke. I've seen 400 to 600,000 bales estimated gone in Georgia and northern Florida. Interesting you say, usually we're about 30 days behind. I don't think we would see this reflected in this report. But I don't know if the price, looking at just the cotton price action, I don't know if it's reflected that big of losses either. What do you think, Tommy?
There's a lot of things going on with these storms, big time. You had one storm, and then 10, 12 days later, you got another storm. Don't forget, we had the port strike for a few days, although they're only off for a few days. I guess when they take time off and walk away like that, it takes them a little time to get things restarted. That's not good. A lot of things moving there, but we'll keep an eye on it. Let's go to the next question. This one's important too. Robert, longtime listener, first time caller.
Not sure how we will ever grow a good corn crop next year going into the winter with zero subsoil moisture. Interesting. It is very dry, Robert. Not discounting that fact, but I go back and look at a drought monitor from last year, and even if you wanted to go January, right? I remember having this debate where it was the same thing. Our subsoil moisture wasn't ideal January of 2024, and we're a record corn crop. So
Robert's in that area of South Dakota, North Dakota, where they had those wildfires. We're thinking about everyone out there. You got storms in Florida. We had horrible wildfires out in western North Dakota. Grab this one.
Corn basis widen. I don't know where you're at, Jacob, but it's
He's
not
in North Dakota.
North Dakota.
North of Fargo. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as we continue to see that corn harvest hit, right, especially if they start getting tight on space, maybe not. They're real good at building bins out in North Dakota. It's not quite the story, but if we start getting tight on space, we're going to see that basis could really weaken, Tommy.
Yeah, there's a couple other things I want to add some color to that. Great question. Thanks for tuning in, Jacob. Your corn crop's good, and so many North Dakota farmers were afraid to forward sell. They weren't afraid to forward protect, but they didn't really like the price they were forward protecting. Now your crop's there, and so I know what you're hauling in to the elevator. Your father and your uncle told me you're hauling in 15% nice bushel corn. I'm not going to say the yield because I do need to have a few clients left, but you have a big crop. You have a dirty secret. You have a great crop in North Dakota. You guys thought you're going to have 40, 40, 40. You thought, oh, we got the crop in. It's going to be cold. It's going to frost. It is October 11th. It has still not frosted in North Dakota. I mean, there's parts that hit it all around here. People still have their flowers out. We're going to start to have a frost here pretty soon. They are stopping sugar beet harvest every day because it is too warm in North Dakota. They may have hit a new state day record. Upper 80s had to shut the sugar beets down, only letting you haul in sugar beets. What a blessing and what a gift to be able to haul in that corn that doesn't need to go through the dryer. So my point is, you're bringing that corn to town. The basis is going wider, but your cost production on that crop went down because your bushels went up and your cost to dry it is zero. Back to you, my friend.
Yeah, well said. Let's keep breaking down these questions.
This is the good one right here.
Okay.
You read it because I'm laughing. Want me to click it?
Yeah, I don't know which one you're talking about. Pop it up.
Yeah. Remember this one?
Oh, I do. I'm still
Come on,
selling
this is
my
the
mom.
best thing that's happened to us
I'm
in a long
selling my
time.
mom with beans in her pocket. Yeah, he's the one. He said,
He said it.
"Sell
I mean, this is
soybeans
like
if your
100 episodes ago.
mom has soybeans, sell her too." And he
Oh,
said,
that
"And
was
now
classic.
I'm
Ring the
selling my
damn bell.
father with meal in his pocket." Gosh, bourbon browed shade management. I'll keep that in mind if I got
All
soybeans in my
right.
pocket.
All right. He's got a few more. I'll click him now.
All right. Forget about weather for Brazil soybeans. Brazil will plant a huge crop. Facts. Maybe a new record for soybeans. The problem regarding soybean planting delays is not a problem on soybeans per se. If I think I know what you're saying, I generally agree with you. Right, the whole planting problems. It was like having talking about planting delays in March of this year. Right, we're early to the ball game. We can still plant, get the soybeans in, and that have record yields. Right, it's still early to the game. This price action has been perfectly hedgeable. It is a problem for the Brazilian safrinha crop, right? Yeah, I heard this one last year too, where that we saw that delay in soybean planting, how it was going to affect the safrinha corn crop. But then this summer, when they were harvesting it, they were well ahead of the previous year, well ahead of planting pace. So it's definitely on the table. We see delays. We could see the delays in the safrinha corn crop, but I say time will tell on that one, Tommy.
Yeah, all good comments. And to see someone
Absolutely
come back months later and say that. Now, I will say this, and I said it on the live stream. I was very clear about it. Soybeans rallied $1.10. A lot of short-term traders blew up. When we got above 1030 and started going for that 100-day, took out the 100-day, spent a few days above the 100-day, then had one more big push. We blew up people a few weeks ago, right about now, and I could bring that up, but we blew up some short-term traders. Now, those comments are funny, but not a lot of people. You talk about being short a soybean, maybe you had 25 cents profit into it, maybe 50. And all of a sudden it's 50 cents against you. That's $2,500 for one lot. These were big boy and girl moves here we had in the soybean. These were Adult Swim only. And with that, it's funny to say those comments, but you got to wonder who had the staying power to stand. Now, from our perspective as commodity brokers, I'm sending out text, emails, this, that. The soybean rally is a gift. Sell them off the combine, buy them back on paper. If you sold soybeans last few weeks and you own a call that's depreciating, you're probably not too mad. You got paid your money. You're not paying 7-8% to the bank. You can now take that money, still get 4.5% in a CD if you're wealthy. Congratulations, by the way, if you're wealthy. And many of you are. Why are you wealthy? Land prices in America have absolutely doubled in the last 4 years. As fast as our deficit goes up, which it goes up, not every 90 days, the American deficit goes up $1 trillion. As fast as that deficit's going up, land prices and assets for the wealthy are increasing, aka the Dow Jones up 300. Back to you, my friend.
Yep. Well said. So, well, I think we got everything. Mike, Joe, we're going to wrap it up. We're having a good time, Joe. He's telling us get out of here.
Great crowd. Hey, 2,075 people watching. Thank you so much. Advanced Trading ATI Pro Media. Like and subscribe the channel. Real quick, we're selling premium subscriptions, $30 a month, $1 a day. If you like this was just a taste. Let me show you what that is for the new people who joined. And with that, we're going to give away a couple flags. And we're going to get the heck out of here. Welcome to ATI Pro Media, powered by Advanced Trading. We're a financial channel that loves agriculture. For just $1 a day, you'll receive advanced trading research, actionable text, and a minimum of 6 videos a week featuring industry experts and insight. Click the button below to subscribe today. All right, if you're a great American patriot, we'd love to send you a flag. Hit us up on the email, info@ATI Pro Media. If you're interested in subscribing to the service, it's www.ati Pro Media. I think I have someone calling right now. They're calling the hotline. We'll get back to them. But hey, what a great day. It's a beautiful fall day. Notre Dame game tomorrow. I'm not going. I'm actually going across to watch a soccer game at Holy Cross. What do we got going with sports? And then I do have something I want to say before we get out of here.
We got a couple. We're not going to talk a lot about it because I know especially your brother's loyalty to Purdue, but we got Illinois-Purdue football. So hopefully there's no, if something happens, I'm going to have to eat my words, but should be a good win for Illinois. We got Bears in London, right? 8:30 a.m. Wake up early for that one, Tommy.
Hello, Shazam. Hey, real quick, let's go back a month. September was Suicide Awareness Month. Agriculture has a high suicide rate. We have high highs and we have low lows. When we have lows in prices, we tend to stay down there for a while. Kind of feels like where we are. but we're also having bushels improve and everything else. Note to anyone out there, don't ever be afraid to ask for help.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, Tommy G,
Well said,
Valparaiso,
Tommy.
Indiana, Connor B, Assumption, Illinois. We will see you Monday at 9 o'clock. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us. We're here every day, 9 a.m. Central. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.